Welcome back to the kitchen. How could we do a winter treats without any lamb? So basically I'm doing a nice roasted lamb backstrap with some creamy mashed potato and a slightly different twist. We're actually going to make a mint aioli or a mint mayonnaise. So what I'll do is I'll get my lamb underway first. I've got some rosemary that I've just basically got out of the garden this morning. So we're just going to strip some of the little pieces off the main stalk. We don't want that main really big stalk in there, so I'm just stripping those off. Hopefully you can see that. You just pull it down and it just pulls off and we get those nice little pieces. Then I want to give that a rough chop with my knife, and that's going to release some of the essential oils that are in the rosemary as well, and that's going to perfume through our lamb. So I've got a couple of backstraps here of lamb, so on goes the rosemary, last little bit in there. We want a wee bit of sea salt in as well, and I'm just going to massage that into the lamb. Just give it a real good mush together. That's what Jamie Oliver usually does on his show. Not saying that I'm following Jamie, but we'll just get all those flavours into that lamb. So on the stove I've got my fry pan on, I've got just some standard oil in there, and we want to sear that lamb. So in that goes. And what I'm again going to do, I've got my roasting tray here with my cooling rack inside, and I'm going to sit that lamb up on top of that and then roast it in the oven. Now I want to move on to the mayonnaise. So in my bowl I've got a couple of egg yolks. So I've just separated those, and what I want to do now is I want to add some lemon juice and a clove of garlic to it. So just one clove, take the little end off. I've done this lots of times on the show. Take the knife, give it a good whack. That's going to release this outer skin or the husk from the garlic, so we've removed that straight away. And then we want to just chop that down, and then we're going to mash that on our bench. Wee bit of salt, use the tip of your knife, and that's going to actually help you mush the garlic and break it down. Just keep bringing it together. So of course you don't need a garlic crusher. If you've got a board and a knife, there's our nice crushed garlic. So in that goes. We don't have to add any salt to that because we've already got the salt there from what we crushed it. I want to put a wee bit of acid in there. So squeeze in some lemon juice. Again, I'm going to whisk those together, just keeping an eye on my lamb. So we'll just go back to our lamb. Just going to turn that over. The heat's a bit low there for some reason, but I'm sure that will keep going. So now what we do, we actually is going to slowly add our oil. So of course this is where you need two hands often when you're making a mayonnaise. So I've got someone who's just going to come in off camera and she's going to actually assist me. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our olive oil and we're going to basically just drizzle a little bit in at a time. And so when I say stop or start, basically we're just going to keep whisking. So if you want to start just slowly drizzling it. So if you have a nice little steady stream of oil going in, we're creating an emulsion. So what that is basically we're trying to mix the yolks and the oil together. And if we add our oil too quickly, what's going to happen is it's going to curdle on us. I'll get you to stop there for a second. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to check my lamb, so I'm going to go behind you. So we're just going to take our lamb out onto our rack, and that's going to go into our oven to roast. And we're going to go back to our mayonnaise. Great, you just that continuous stream. Now you could get your cake mixer going and do it that way. There are recipes that call for it to be done in a food processor, but it's nothing to actually do it by hand. Well, you could just speed up a wee bit more. Yep, cool. Now if the recipe calls for a certain quantity of oil, you want to make sure you put all of that oil in. I'll get you to stop there for a second. Right, we'll start going again. Cool. Yep, you're right, keep going. I'll get you to stop there. Thank you for your help, that's great. So there we've got our mayonnaise ready to go. But of course, if we want to make it a mint aioli, we've got to add some mint to it. So I've got a big quantity of fresh mint leaves here. So I'm just going to gather those up into a nice tight ball. And we're just going to chop them down. So instead of making your mint sauce that you traditionally serve with your lamb, you could try this mint mayonnaise. And you'll have plenty left over. It will store in your fridge quite happily. Then you could serve it on the next day. If you have a nice roast lamb sandwich, put the mint mayonnaise on your bread, nice French stick, lay a nice cold piece of lamb on top and your mint mayonnaise, and then you've got another use for it. So there's our mint that goes in. As you can see, it's a pretty good quantity. I'm just going to add a wee bit more lemon juice. Just stir that mint in. If you find that your mayonnaise is too thick, you can just add some warm water to it, and that will also thin the consistency down as well. So there's our mayonnaise ready to go. Right, on to our creamy mashed potatoes. So I've got some pre-boiled and mashed potatoes that I've got here ready to go. And in my microwave, I've got some cream and some butter, which I'm going to beat into them to make them even more rich and creamy. So I've warmed the cream and the butter up together. I'm just going to add a wee bit at a time, not too much, otherwise it might end up being too sloppy. And you just want to beat that in and just keep adding until you get to the right consistency that you want with your mash, whether you like it still quite firm or you actually really like a nice creamy mash. So just work it in, and then once it starts to work in, get beating with the spoon. And I'm going to put the rest of that in. Again, just work that initial quantity in. A nice creamy mash. So we've got our plate there ready to go. I'm going to spoon on some of our mash, and then I've got some lamb here that I've had resting. So nice and medium rare. Again, if you like it more so, then you can cook it to another degree that you like. So we're just going to stack our lamb on top, and then of course we're just going to dollop on top our nice mint aioli to finish that off. So there you have it. You have our wonderful Southland roast lamb resting on our wonderful Southland creamy mashed potatoes and finished with our mint aioli.